Are you a consulting business owner seeking a better way to scale to your next million in revenue? Accelerate Sales Podcast features other experts who have cracked the code to predictable revenues with proven sales systems that quickly increase revenue and get you on the fast track back to doing what you do best. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hello to the Accelerate Sales Solo Podcast, episode number 348. Today's topic is researching your ideal client. You will learn three key things. One, why do research in the first place? Two is how to research. And three is access to my system, so I make it so much easier for you. And it's a free resource, which I'll give at the end. So if it is your first time to the podcast, welcome. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe. If you're a regular, thanks for your support. Appreciate every review, in particular those iTunes reviews. Please check out past shows on your favorite platform. Just search Accelerate Sales. And don't forget to check out those interview shows. I do one interview show a week and then one solo show like this. So let's dive into the topic of researching. My definition of an ideal client is someone you love to work with, can afford your services, and most importantly, you're confident in getting them a result. So that's, who I call my ideal client. A little later, I'll give you a resource where you can actually fill out every section of an ideal client, but that's top line what it is. And to be honest, I prefer to niche or niche, depends where you are in the world, down. Now, I know you've heard that a million times, so I'm not going to repeat what a lot of other people say. But what I will do is give you a really practical example of that. So as an example, I used to have on my LinkedIn profile, I help service-based businesses, right? And I did that for, about 9 months. And then one day someone sent me a note asking if I helped hairdressers. I'm like, okay, they're a service-based business. Obviously, it was too broad and it was trying to be a catch-all phrase, but it was really appealing to nobody because who goes around calling themselves a service-based business, right? Because there's so many variations of that. So I clarified it by saying I help tech consultants and SaaS partners. So a tech consultant's pretty obvious. But a SaaS partner is someone who represents a SaaS brand. Let's say it's Salesforce as an example. And what they do is sell the product on behalf of that company. So I'll give you a little bit more insight into why I went after tech consultants and SaaS partners. And there's, a couple of key ones. So one is that I worked for Coca-Cola for 18 years, which if you're a regular, you know that. And they have a very similar business model to SaaS companies, i.e. the Coca-Cola company does the branding and the marketing, most of the marketing, and they also have the products. So they come up with the formulation for the products. And then what we used to call the bottlers, which is an old term, but the bottlers did all the rest of it. So they probably did sales, delivery, finance, etc. So I think if you break down all the functions of a business, it was like most franchise or franchisee relationships, there's certain things that the franchisor does and there's certain things the franchisee does. And that's the key reason, because I knew I could take all of my experience in working in that probably the most successful franchise system, certainly it's the longest going around that I know, 150 odd years, right? So I really understood that model, and now it's applicable into SaaS, right? Because that's effectively how SaaS companies work. And I'd also built, scaled, and sold a technology consulting business, which we're a partner for Copper. So I knew that really well, right? So that's why I decided to niche down into that result. And also, to be honest, I love getting results for these clients, and also I love the industry itself, right? So that all made sense. And we sold our business over 2 years ago now. And let's be honest, a lot has changed in that time. We all know that COVID has really changed the business model. And I have, I've got some assumptions, but to be honest, I don't know all of the SaaS companies and how they run. And it'd be incorrect of me. I think it'd be limiting if I took my assumptions and said, well, that's everyone else. Like, yes, I really understand this market. I've been in it. But I don't understand the nuances. Like, I don't know the difference between, how does a Salesforce partner work or a Salesforce themselves work versus HubSpot or some other partners that are SaaS-based companies using this model. So And to be honest, I don't also understand the depth of their situation and the language to use in marketing, right? So that's why I wanted to go and do some research. But before I go into the how and the asset I'm going to give you, I'd like to talk to you about booklikeaboss.com. I call it Blab, B-L-A-B. Most of you would have used the scheduler before, and if you haven't, I strongly encourage it. But you may have come across Calendly, Acuity, there's some great ones out there. But to be honest, I came across Blab or Book Like a Boss in an AppSumo deal and just fell in love with it. And since then, they've just continued to pack on the features. It's got a wonderful user experience. You can do custom branding, you can add questions, you can insert video. And to be honest, if you book a call with mine, you'll see it. Or if you've booked a call with me in the past, you would have seen just how beautiful it is. And ultimately, Book Like a Boss makes it easy for you to sell remote across all time zones. And that's what I love, as I do live in Australia but work globally. Why not check it out for yourself? Just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/blab, and that link and all the others I mentioned will be in the show notes. So, how to research. I've given you a top overline here, or I'll give you a top overline here, I should say. And what I'll do is give you that resource at the end so that you can get some specifics and then also the chance to get some feedback. So the first thing is complete your ideal client profile. And this is really defining that ideal client. Like for me, tech consultants and SaaS partners. So what you can do is go and get my version, my template, at paulhigginsmentoring.com/ICP. And I've got to thank a few people, James Schramko, Taki Moore, some others that I've been in, and I've sort of, built their experience plus, what we used to use at Coca-Cola and now made it my own. But you can go to that paulhigginsmentoring.com/ICP. It'll be in the show notes as well. So then you create a target list of people. And to be honest, just, draw from people that you know the closest or the best first. So, people in your network. So, for example, I looked up Salesforce in my sales CRM, and there's certain people that work there. So I connected with them. And then they can also introduce me to people. LinkedIn connections is obviously a great one. Where possible, go your first connections. And then also some strategic partners. So, for example, a lot of these SaaS partners use a community platform. So I'm reaching out to some of them because they see it from a different perspective. And then what I do is send email templates, which all of that will be in the document. And then I'll just talk about two key things here, the setup, the questions, or three, I should say, in the debrief. So you should always set it up saying that it's 100% confidential, these research interviews. Ask them if they're comfortable for it to be recorded just for your purposes only. Be really clear on how much time. So it's 15 minutes. Make sure it's 15 minutes. Expectations of answers. So, for example, I always say a sip of beer is an Australian. We love our beer. And I always say it's a sip of beer. It's not a whole glass or a whole bottle. Also, ask them what they're hoping to get out of this. Okay, it's really important up front. And then also what you are hoping to get out of this. So what are you going to do with this information? And also talk about the value add. So something that you're going to give them for giving up their time, which I think is really important. Then questions in the research. Ask broad and then into specific, right? Because you want to build that relationship, especially if you don't know them first. Always have open questions, only the most important. So remove all the redundant questions that, you could find on their website or, you're just too lazy to find elsewhere. Make sure that you time yourself so you know exactly how long they take. So you get that right and you do refine it as you go. We use a wonderful platform called Airtable that runs all of ours. Make sure that it links to your strategy, right? So the answers I'm going to get, is it really in line with what I want, the strategy that I'm going to come up with? And also resist providing solutions in the call. It's not a sales call, right? So don't go and provide solutions. And in the debrief, make sure you share what you've learnt with them. So it might be a cum of all the interviews you've had. If there's a key point you can add value, give them a value add. So for me, I do a LinkedIn profile review. Ask them if they want to join your list. And also, we use a software called grain.co. So it's just a grain, like a grain of seed, .co. And what that does is allow you to timestamp so your team can go and get specific information to use out of that. And the resource that I've created that's got all of this listed is at paulhigginsmentoring.com/research. Okay, so 3 key actions from today. 1, grab the ideal client profile at paulhigginsmentoring.com/ICP. ICP. Grab the research document at paulhigginsmentoring.com/research. It's got a lot of information there. And then the third thing is email me your questions, right, for review so that I can help you nail this research, because I think it's such a critical step in the process. You can email me at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com. Once again, the links are there in the show notes. And just search for episode 348. You can go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast, or wherever you're listening, just go to the notes tab and you'll get it there. I recommend the Pocket Cast app. Follow me on LinkedIn. If you know someone interested in research, please share it with them. They will think you're an absolute sales hero, and please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.